Greetings, people of the interwebs. Jake here, and with me are my co-hosts, Dave, Jordan, and Reverend Spaceman.
Hey, I'm Reverend Spaceman.
Hey, y'all.
Normally we record this in the studio, but I'm feeling a little under the weather, so we're doing this over Skype, so that's why it might sound a little bit different.
We're in the space.
Yeah, they're in the basement,
space.
in space, and I'm stuck in my house, because, I'm a little
chilling
ill.
with Matt Damon on Mars.
Yeah.
What? Didn't even invite me.
But Star Wars is too important.
He doesn't
So
Bring the
I
space.
tried to get you.
you got to bring your
on
A
the guest
game.
list.
You got to bring your A game for Star Wars. No matter
Yes.
what.
That's what this video is all about, is the new Star Wars trailer and our thoughts and speculations. So, who wants to open the floor with this?
Where's Luke?
Okay, so,
Dave's big negative Nancy.
speaking of
You've
Luke,
heard any of their videos?
here's the thing with Luke, is I think the reason why he's not featured on the trailers, the poster, and why he's not, like, in the trailers, like, we're pretty sure that it's him, like,
You've
you know,
heard him in one of them.
that, like, it's him touching, yeah, we're pretty sure that's him, but it doesn't actually show his face.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why is, in this movie, he's not going to come in until probably, like, the third act. Like, I think he's, like, maybe in exile, or he's just, like, keeping a low profile, this whole time. Maybe to avoid the Knights of Ren and, like, the Empire, or the First Order now. Or, you know, for whatever reason. And so, yeah, I don't think he's going to come in until, like, the third act of the film.
Probably been off in Gotham City.
That's what I've been speculating. He's kind of Obi-Wan in it, like
Yeah.
he was from 3 to 4.
Yeah. And then, like, what I really hope, though, with Luke in this movie is that, like, when he does show up, presumably in the third act, is, let's just say, for example, when he does show up, it's like when Kylo Ren and Finn are confronting each other in that snowy forest. And they're like, you know, they're duking it out, and maybe Kylo Ren has the advantage or something, or he's about to, you know, beat Finn, and then you see in the background, like, you know, you see Finn's perspective, and you see behind Kylo Ren.
This old hermit-looking
Yeah,
guy.
this old hermit-looking guy
This
flip
was
his...
flipping around with a tiny little lightsaber.
Like, you see him, like, you know, throw his hood down, and then he whips out a lightsaber, and he's just kind of like, alright, time to kick some ass, and he just, like, owns Kylo Ren. Like, I don't want it to be, like...
Surprised Kylo Ren doesn't make it out of this movie.
I kind of would.
He's not the big bad guy.
Well,
We
see,
don't want a Darth Maulus again.
Yeah,
I think-
Andy Serkis's character, I think, is the big bad guy.
Yeah, but
but I don't really know if he's gonna have that big a role in this film.
I feel like...
Him up for 8
I feel like
Yeah,
Kylo
that's why I
Ren...
think Kylo's a bit more disposable.
But
I think he'll still make it though.
yeah, I think there's...
it's good merchandising for him to just get rid of.
I think there's a decent chance of that, because I also
They
think...
killed off, but they still make millions.
Well,
off merchandising.
George Lucas isn't in charge of it now, though.
Even still, I think just if you appear in a trailer alone, they'll make you a toy.
I think somebody big,
You'll get a Star Wars in character episode without you.
somebody big on both sides will die, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
Well, I think,
I mean,
there-
maybe not.
excuse me.
Yeah, there's a chance.
He's not as big as they're building him up to be.
I think Han Solo might die.
I think it's between Han Solo and Chewie, because, like, in the trailer...
Sure, Harrison Ford will
I mean, that's why he's been kind of so on board with this movie.
Maybe
Yeah.
not,
It's his last one.
Maybe not in 7, but I think by 9. 1 if not.
I think
the original
Han
cast
will be
will die.
gone by the end.
Yeah, I think for sure. But that's just my speculation is, let's try and, like, start from the beginning and kind of work our way to the end, so that way it's a bit more organized. So, like, at the beginning...
Let's start from the middle, and then go back and do the first one. This is Star Wars.
Mediocre Patricia Heaton.
I'm trying to keep this thing organized here. So at the beginning of the trailer, we see, Rey, the new female lead, and she's, like, basically, spelunking into that destroyed, Star Destroyer, that's crashed in the desert. Like, I think that's her in that speeder from the first trailer that they show.
Yeah, it's fine.
And she's a scavenger, which I assume is how she's making her living. And then you hear that voiceover of some unknown character saying, "Who are you?" And she says, "No one." But I'm like 90% positive that she is a Skywalker of Skywalker lineage, whether she's Luke's kid or Han and Leia's. I'm like 90% sure she is a Skywalker, and
Solo.
I think Kylo Ren is actually her brother. I'm pretty sure they're related. Maybe not brother, but
Related.
if you look at the poster, you see his lightsaber is exactly parallel to her staff, and they're right next to each other. I don't think that was coincidence. I think that they have some relation to each other. Pretty sure siblings.
That's Da Vinci Code shit you got going.
Again, I've been what?
It's like, again...
I've been obsessing over this trailer like since it came out.
They're twins too, probably.
From J.J. Abrams, that it's just going to be recycled references and reusing everything that's been done before.
I don't.
With the movie, I guess.
I don't think it's.
I don't think it's gonna be this movie. But I don't know. I think
you're disappointed by just about anything.
Well, yeah, you didn't like Pacific Rim.
you just don't like fun,
We've
Dave.
had that discussion too many times.
But yeah, I think like when she says no one, it's kind of like you. When someone says no one, that they're no one, that means they're someone of importance, or they've got a past, like a recognizable past. So I think she's laying low because her brother is Kylo Ren, hunting down Jedi, Force-sensitive people, and she's just trying to like stay out of it.
Still Darth Revan's helmet.
Then they find Lando's kid named Finn.
Yeah, which I think he was a stormtrooper. Like he was maybe a part of the First Order, and for whatever reason had a falling out. Like maybe he is just like, what do they represent? Why am I doing this? And that's why the first time you hear him talk in any of the trailers is, he was like, I was born for one purpose and I don't know what I'm fighting for. And so I think maybe that's why he's being hunted down on Jakku, because shortly after it shows him, and I guess through some means he meets up with Rey, like the TIE fighters start shooting down on him. So I think they're both being hunted down, him for maybe being a deserter, or possibly being Force-sensitive, one of the two, if not both. And maybe they stumble across her, and it's one of those things where they reluctantly team together, because maybe she's like, they're after me. No, I'm pretty sure they're after me. And then they're like, wait, what? They're after both of us? And, they figured each other out that way or something.
Yeah, the first time I saw the trailer, they kind of make Finn seem like he may have been blending in as a stormtrooper, but I guess after we see the new trailer, you can kind of tell actual stormtroopers.
Yeah.
And stormtroopers are not
deserting.
clone troopers.
No.
They've
addressed that enough.
Yeah.
It's been a long enough time.
It wasn't Jango Fett's face.
No. And so, I do think that, that's how they meet, is like just a kind of happenstance they meet up. And then, they join the Resistance. Somehow, not entirely sure how that happens. Maybe Rey is already aware of the Resistance, and they are like, okay, well, I guess we have to join the Resistance to escape the Empire, or something like that. But I love that scene, though, when they're, like, talking to Han on the Millennium Falcon, and they're like, are the stories true? And he's like, yeah, all of them. The Jedi, the Sith. So it makes me think that in real time, like the time between Return of the Jedi and this new one, a lot of what went down in those movies have kind of gone down in myth. I think a lot of it is maybe due to propaganda.
legends.
Yeah. I think some of it is due to, like, propaganda, because obviously the Emperor, like, once the Emperor died, the Empire isn't just gonna be like, yep, Emperor's dead, got killed by a Jedi, what can you do? They're on their last leg, presumably, in this movie, so they're trying to, like,
You see a little bit of that in, I've only read issue 2 of the Empire comic. They see, like, they still see Empire high-ranking generals and stuff talking about. One guy's like, but the Emperor's dead, and the other guy says, propaganda against the Empire, blah, blah, blah. So they're still trying to keep it under wraps.
Yeah, so I think that's why, like, the Jedi and the Sith, they're, like, they're like little fairy tales, basically, where it's like, that might have happened, but do we have any facts or evidence that the Jedi were real, or that the Sith were real? And especially, like, during the battle, like, of, Endor or Yavin, it's like, do we know that they were involved? Like, maybe at one point they were, like, a thing way back when, but,
At least it makes more sense this time, because from episode 3 and 4, 19 years, they act like they don't know what Jedi were.
Yeah, like that.
The Force, like, what's that?
Lightsaber? What is this?
Jedi temple.
We've had 30 years back, so there's more chance for legend to build them.
Yeah.
There's hardly any Jedi.
I mean, look at all the shit that's built around JFK, all the myth and conspiracy theory shit that's built around that.
It's an inside job, man.
Yeah.
Inside job.
That Star's an inside job.
Wait, how did I get here, man?
But I do like,
Force Unleashed into account, the Death Star kind of was an inside job, but that's not canon.
yeah.
But,
But,
so we're getting a third Death Star.
Yeah, it does, in the, I guess more so the poster, it looks like a third Death Star looking thing, and maybe that's where you see that big explosion in the trailer, where it's like wiping out, like, that force or whatever. Or maybe it's like a... Or maybe it's like a...
Well, it's a different design.
Well, you know, but I don't know, I guess it makes sense to have, like, another Death Star or whatever type of thing. And then you see, like, Han Solo leading Finn and Rey into, like, that temple, which... If you notice, there's a lot of flags on that temple, one of which is the Mandalorian flag. Whether that...
There's a lot of pod race flags on there, too.
Yeah, now whether that, like, means anything, who knows, but... Yeah, it might be like an old Jedi temple or something.
That's a good trick.
But I think a lot of this movie is just going to revolve around the new characters, Han and Leia. I think it's going to be more of their story, and then, like, maybe Episode 8, that's when it focuses more on Luke and whoever survives this movie. Because I'm pretty sure...
Yeah. He gets his other hand cut
He'll
off.
make an appearance.
Yeah, like, I'm...
He'll kind of be the godfather, kind of guiding them.
Yeah.
Even if they don't see him, we'll see him.
Yeah, like, I'm confident Luke will be in this movie, and I think there's a good chance he'll show up to, like, save the day or, you know, show up at some point.
Yeah, I think somewhere, I think it was on Jedi Council, they were talking about someone, I think J.J. Abrams himself might have said that anything we've seen so far is only from, like, the first third of the movie.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
So,
Yeah.
and another thing that I loved about this trailer...
Yeah.
Like, another thing that I loved about this trailer is it gives you so much, but it's not, like, overwhelming, and it doesn't give you... Like, it doesn't ruin anything about the story. Like, I still have no idea what this story is about
Yeah, that's what I
overall.
was nervous about.
And I think initially, like, the trailer was... Like, when I watched it, I thought it was cool, but I think it took me a minute to, like, for everything to sink in, and I was just like, replay, and then I replayed it, and then I was just like, I need this movie now.
Going back to the right hand.
Yeah. Like, this movie needs to come out now.
The Star Killer base.
Yeah.
A little bit of, we've seen of that.
Named for Darth Vader's apprentice.
Yeah, the name's awesome, and
You finally hear Kylo Ren talk, where he's saying, you know, I'm finally gonna finish what you started, which there's a lot of speculation on what's going on there of what he means by finish what he started.
He's obsessed with his grandfather.
He's sandwich.
Well, like, because, you know, in the original trilogy, Vader was never really, like, he's Sith, but he's not, he's more of his own thing. Yeah, like Dooku. Because really, like, I guess his own real motivation that he, like, wants in the original trilogy is he wants to rule the galaxy with his son. So is Kylo Ren wanting to rule the galaxy with his family, like, say, Luke, Leia, Rey, and whoever else, or is he, like, just wanting to exterminate all the Force-sensitive people? So as another part of, you know, Darth Vader's mission early on, like, at the very like, you know, in Episode 3, when he was wiping out, like, the, you know, younglings and stuff like that. That was a part of his early missions as Darth Vader, so...
He was just a rebellious teen, he kind of took it a little too far, and now he's a Sith, so it's like, I'm not gonna...
But I do think his voice sounded pretty cool, though. Like, it's Darth Vader-esque, but not, like, a complete...
You still hear Adam Driver in it.
Yeah.
I think it's a nice kind of parallel to the original trilogy if Kylo is Luke's offspring, for it to be kind of the son being on the dark side and the father being the noble Jedi.
That would be really cool. Maybe not a twist, but just, like, it'd be kind of a cool, like, parallel to happen. Or maybe that's why Kylo Ren is, like, maybe he's trying to get Luke's attention. He's tracking him down, because for whatever reason he hates his dad because he's a Jedi or something. We don't know.
I've heard stuff about him, like, allegedly running around and collecting Sith artifacts and stuff, and something about Darth Plagueis' staff keeps coming up.
Well, I know, like, the Knights of Ren, they're basically...
He took Revan's mask.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say about that. I like it, but just... I like to drive that home.
Yeah.
I think that's why they made all expanded universe non-canon. So
Revan still... Shut up! Revan is still canon. Shut up!
They can rip off of it and just take whatever they want.
Yeah.
Whatever they want.
I would be willing to believe that the Knights of Ren were originally conceived as the Knights of Revan, and then over time the name got kind of distorted. Like, Jesus was... The original name was actually Yeshua, and then in modern day's name it's Jesus. It's gone through Jesus, all kinds of different distortions.
That's a possibility.
Like Gardner?
But also,
So,
like...
Same thing happened to Revan, it became Bran. I'd be up with that. I'm just saying.
But, yeah,
Just throwing that out there.
it's a possibility. I think there's some, validity to that with, the whole corruption of, words and whatnot. But yeah, like, the Knights of Ren, they're basically like a bunch of Darth Vader groupies. Like, they worship him and they want to, emulate him and all that stuff. And there is the popular rumor that they're trying to, like, bring him back somehow or clone him, which hopefully it's not cloning. Let's not really deal with clones.
Come on.
That's why he's coming back.
Yeah.
Nah, I'd rather them not deal with clones anymore, or like have it heavily.
People were all about it.
Like, I just don't really want any part of the main story to involve like cloning someone or anything like that. Just because they did it in the prequels, let's try new things. I don't know. That's just me though. I think like I'm okay. Like, I'm okay with them trying to like bring him back as like a Force ghost or something, whatever, through some means. Or I don't know, like, maybe they're trying to figure a way to do that, but I just don't want them to clone him. But also, like, there's a lot of really cool scenes where you see, like, that X-Wing shoot a stormtrooper. Like, that is just awesome. The fact that I'm assuming it's Poe Dameron who does that in that scene.
Yeah.
'Cause he's supposed to be like the best pilot in the galaxy.
Besides the original.
Which is cool with me.
Yeah.
Anakin was the greatest pilot in the galaxy when Obi-Wan found him.
But
Pod race.
But there's also the scene where like Kylo is looks like he's torturing Poe Dameron. Maybe to get information, or maybe because Poe is Force sensitive and he's trying to, break him down or something, or
Giving him a Force brain freeze.
yeah, Force brain freeze.
Oh, he'll be the Han. I don't know.
Yeah, like, I think he's for sure going to be the Han of this franchise.
Probably.
Kylo is obviously...
He's the Jar Jar.
He's Tarkin. No, his mask does look a little bit like... You could fit a Jar Jar face in there.
Yeah.
It's probably a Gungan.
Maybe Kylo Ren is Jar Jar. That's why he's got that voice modulator, so that way, like, no one can recognize him.
He did a pretty good job turning Hayden Christensen into James Earl Jones.
That's true.
James Earl Jones does a great blackface, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty classy.
Underwater when he's a little boy.
Miss our Avengers Annie.
Another thing that I think is interesting about the trailer is when you see, like, the Millennium Falcon in that dogfight with the TIE Fighters over that the crashed destroyer ship, they play Leia's theme, not like Luke's theme, like it's Leia's, which again is more reason why I think this is more about, like, Han and Leia, like, the older characters, about those two more so than Luke. But that's still just a beautiful scene, and I love the fact that, like, there's not a whole lot of CGI. Like, it's a lot of practical effects with CGI in the mix to make it just pop. And I love that. Because I think that's the beauty.
You can't have CGI like you did.
Yeah, like, don't do the George...
It's the only thing that works for a movie like this.
But how are you going to do the Gungans?
How are you going to do the Gungans without CGI or Dex?
You can do plenty of practical effects and just use CGI to, like, add some finishing touches. Or you can do the George Lucas route and just see the CGI the shit out of everything. And
he did make the movies he wanted to make.
Yes, he did.
I'll give him that, but he could have done better.
I think where he was using CGI to just get rid of the actors with the Clone Wars, which was great. It's like the documentary The People versus George Lucas. There's like a parody, obviously, George Lucas talking about how great CGI is, and he's like, we'll use CGI, we'll create all new backgrounds with CGI, we don't even need to use sets anymore, and eventually won't even have to use the actors if we don't have to. And then I saw that, then I saw Clone Wars, and I kind of laughed, thinking that's kind of exactly what they did.
Yeah. But we all know how that turned out, using all CGI for the clone troopers. It doesn't hold up that well. And this movie came out...
In that movie?
Yeah.
You can't talk bad about that.
That's why it's better than Lord of the Rings.
I'm just saying, like, the clone troopers specifically, the fact that they were all CGI is beyond...
a real person. He wasn't CGI.
Was he?
He's a person. His name is Joey.
He was in the Backstreet Boys.
Anyways, we're getting off topic. It's like, also in the trailer we see Kylo Ren standing in the rain with his saber out, with those other, presumably, Knights of Ren standing next to him. A lot of dead bodies. So they're clearly, like, they're a force to be reckoned with. Now, whether he's the only one with a lightsaber and they're just, I don't know, using their hands, or pocket knives, we don't know.
Probably just like a doo-wop group.
Maybe? Yeah, maybe they're a doo-wop group who likes to sing in the rain. While he...
They pull out like what looks like a pocket knife, flip it out, it's a comb.
Yeah.
Flip it back.
Well, you know, they gotta comb their cloaks. That way they're nice and styling. But we also see, like, when Kylo Ren confronts Finn in that forest, like, it looks like Finn knows how to hold a lightsaber. Like, he's held...
But it doesn't look like he's
not confident.
really
Yeah, he's
trained.
not... Yeah. Like, I think he might have had some bit... Like, a little bit of training at some point in this film, or maybe he's, you know, a former apprentice. Yeah. But yeah, he didn't look very confident when, you know, Kylo Ren was approaching him. He
looks nervous.
Yeah, which, you know, I would be too, because it's like, you know, I'm not too crazy about this.
Yeah.
And, you know, Kylo Ren's a cold-blooded killer, so, yeah, I don't blame him for being very nervous, in that fight. But yeah, I needless to say, I'm pretty pumped about this.
I think he, like, the lightsaber he's holding isn't actually has, like, a light coming off of it, because it looks like an actual, I know it's not a real lightsaber, but it looks like it might be, like, an actual prop that lights up.
Yeah.
You see some blue on his face, and
yeah.
It really doesn't look digital.
No, and again, that's why I like Abrams so much, being a part of this movie, and not using, like, trying to use as, like, the least amount of CGI as possible. Because I like the fact that he is not only a fan, but he can distance himself from the fan, and go in this movie as a director, and get things right, and go back to the roots, because that's one thing that made the Star Wars original trilogy so beautiful, is the, you know, practical special effects. And I love that.
And George Lucas not directing.
Yeah, George Lucas isn't directing.
He's barely involved, if at all.
I don't think he's involved at all.
I don't know if he's as hands-off as they might want you to think. I mean, he's not going to just sign his work.
I mean, he might have...
He
gave him some notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's giving them that.
He's listed as a story consultant.
Yeah. He is a consultant.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm sure he was involved, but I think it's more of like... I think it's more one of those things where any big decision, they're like, they'd call him up or whatever and be like, hey, George Lucas, is this okay? Alright, cool. I think that was about it. Yeah, I think that was as far as his involvement went. I don't think it was very hands-on or very much involved at all, aside from, like, big decisions like that.
we don't really know, but I can't see him completely handing over the reins.
I kind of do, just because he had his run with the original trilogy and the prequels, and now it's...
with the original trilogy.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. And then he did the prequels. He had his run, and then he did the prequels.
He had that cash
yeah.
grab in the late 90s.
I'm just saying, like, he had, like, he told his part of the story, because he set the prequels up, like, you know, he wanted to do the prequels pretty much since the original trilogy, but the technology wasn't there. So I think it's one of those things where, like, he told his part of the story, and now he's letting other people tell their story, which I think is better, because that's one thing that made Star Trek better.
Lives on. Can live on now.
Yeah.
After he's gone.
He's not dead.
No, but he's pretty old. He's not gonna last that much longer. He's like in his 60s.
For being honest.
Where's the negative one now?
He
might live to be 90.
He might be. I'm just saying he's not. He's not gonna last forever.
He's got all the money in the world.
He's got a ranch.
Yeah.
If anybody's gonna live past 120, that guy.
Because he can afford all the medical
treatment. Because he can afford to live past 120.
Yeah.
But even still, the fact is, his run of Star Wars is
over.
Yeah, his time is over. He's
letting
letting.
Come back his 100th birthday. He's direct another Star Wars.
He's gonna remake the prequels.
He's gonna remake the originals.
No, the originals don't need to be touched ever. They're perfectly fine the way they are.
Yes, me, it's about time he makes a sequel to THX. This is apparently his first movie ever.
See American Graffiti 2.
Yeah.
Prequel to American Graffiti.
Yeah, of course it's a prequel.
That'll be episode
Howard.
So I guess are there any other thoughts on the trailer before we kind of talk more about like what we're speculating from this movie?
Why isn't Ron Howard in the movie? Actually, I wouldn't hate seeing Ron Howard directed Star Wars.
Neither,
director.
Yeah.
I think he could do it. He may not have been. I mean,
like a lot of still images, but whatever.
He may not be like my first choice, but if they did announce him, I probably wouldn't be completely opposed to it.
Once again, directing like Da Vinci Code 6 or whatever.
Finally get Nick Cage in a Star Wars film.
Thank God. That happens.
If Kylo Ren unmasks and Adam Driver was just the voice of Kylo Ren.
It's Nicolas Cage. Yeah, that's what.
Chance. Well, tall,
He's so much better.
He looks young enough to play Luke Skywalker's son.
The rest of the movie is terrible.
Mark Hamill's getting up there. Nick Cage could pull off being his son.
I think Mark Hamill's only like 63, 64.
Still looks old.
Yeah.
He looked better than he has in a while.
So
Yeah.
Fisher.
Yeah, he did.
She had to lose like 50 pounds to be allowed to be on film again.
Otherwise, they just CGI her face onto like Sakura.
Okay, so here's another thing too. Since the movie is, The Force Awakens, and we do see like characters like, presumably Rey is Force sensitive, Finn, and some of these other characters. Do we think like there are going to be other Force sensitive characters in this movie, or is it just like, or do you think it's just these handful of characters, and maybe later Jar Jar as well, and then maybe and then maybe like episodes 8 and 9.
Jar.
Seriously. He
Jar.
finally learns how to use the Force.
Dave, shut up! I'm gonna say a thing.
He cannot trip over his own ears all the time. Just lives a normal life.
Jar Jar Jr.
You know what? If they direct him right, he could redeem the name of Jar Jar. I'm not saying they should do that. That's still a terrible idea. But if done right,
He does bring back.
Yeah, Tarantino Star Wars movie all about Jar Jar, featuring Nick Cage.
I would watch it, but not because I'd expect it to be good.
Tarantino can't make a bad movie. For apparently Pulp Fiction, Dave.
Who said it was a bad film?
Anyway, I think there could be some Force-sensitive characters. There might. I can see more in episodes 8, 9.
Yeah.
7. I think they're just gonna kind of introduce these main characters.
Yeah.
Right now.
I don't know if the title is all that.
Also,
story is just like, hey, it's a new set of Star Wars films.
I think that's a good idea, actually, to like not label it as just like, Star Wars Episode 7, because I don't know. I think if you are gonna try and bring in a new audience, like, this is kind of them starting fresh in a way. So I'm okay with it. In The Force Awakens, the name has kind of grown on me a bit more.
Yeah. It's a new era.
Yeah, it's a new era, and yeah, I'm okay. I'm cool with it.
It has the same amount of syllables as The Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
And the same first 2 syllables.
You know how good that movie was?
Actually, you know what? I think, like, watching this trailer, I'm more excited for this movie than I was as a kid. Mind you, kid for Phantom Menace.
They were going to talk about those movies forever, and they would never come out when I was a kid.
Because I remember I was excited, like, when they finally showed the trailer for Phantom Menace as a kid. Again, as a kid, so don't judge me and be like, what? Why?
Adults were excited for
Yeah,
it.
that trailer looked great. The second one I was still excited for, but not... Yeah, it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, Star Wars! But I think, like, as I've just gotten older, I've gained more appreciation for Star Wars and how great the movies are, or the original trilogies, and moments in the prequels. Maybe that's one reason why I'm more excited now.
They've got to keep that.
Yes. Kidster needs to come back.
Yeah.
Oh, what happened to Kidster?
Yeah. I mean, he'd be like, what?
We don't have canon Kinster anymore besides what episode 1 was.
Yeah. He'd be like, what, 60-something? I don't know. How old would he be?
He should be the Yoda character, basically. Or he's leading the new Sith. Because he's like, what happened?
By the way, for people listening to this and you know who Kidster is, hats off to you, because that's one of the more obscure, like, deeper cut characters in Star Wars.
His name is Drew Chinchani.
Is that the actor's name?
Yeah. He has nothing to do. He doesn't want anything to do with Star Wars anymore.
Well, he should be played by Tom
I
Wiseau.
was trying to look up his autograph. It's like, this is nowhere. He works at
Star Wars.
He works at like MIT. He does some like IT tech stuff now.
What if it's Andy Serkis's character?
What a shame.
That's Kidster.
He got Tom Hanks.
Supreme Leader Snoke?
He got mutated. Kidster got mutated somewhere between like
Became a
1 and
spice
7.
addict.
Yeah, spice addict.
Really messed him up.
So he comes back, he's like a creature, and he's like, I was Darth Vader's first friend.
He's gonna
Yeah.
be like in 60.
I think that theory is gonna blow up the internet because people are just gonna be like, yes, that is the definitive answer. It's the only one that makes sense.
Jar Jar's Kylo.
Yeah, and the Jar Jar's Kylo. They're the only things that make sense.
Hashtag Jar Jar Rin.
It's all about it's all about Anakin's old friends coming back and doing stuff.
And taking care of his kids for him.
Yeah.
It's the least they can do is take care of his kids for him.
Murder them, whatever.
And they're like, have their own kids.
Yeah.
I don't know. Any other thoughts or speculations we got going on here before we wrap this up, gentlemen?
I spoke to Buckles a couple days ago at Speedway, and he was
local gas station.
Yeah, in Canada. Local gas station. I was talking.
Yeah.
I actually did talk to Buckles there and just ran into him. He was talking about the Force Awakens. Like, yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah.
He was the one that actually mentioned the whole Jar Jar's Kylo thing to me. And he said, what would you think about that if that happened? And we both just kind of said, you know what? I would admire the balls on JJ if that happened. If that it'd be terrible, but if that happened, I would stand up and applaud. Just for the ball on his hands.
I would give him that. Yeah. Like mad respect to the man who would do that, for sure.
Yeah.
I do love the scene or the little shot. You're missing a blink of Han and Leia where she.
Oh yes.
We don't know what's happening. Obviously, something bad, but
just made love.
It's fun to speculate. She doesn't cry anymore.
Something bad, like they just made love.
Because here's another thing.
It's such a quick shot. You blink and you miss it. It tells a lot.
I'm thinking in this movie, like, they maybe haven't seen each other for a while, like, maybe they broke up, or divorced, space divorced, whatever.
Wall knows the judge.
Yeah.
Well, that was the best part about Jurassic Park 3, finding out that the couple that you were rooting for got divorced.
Yeah. But, I don't know, I kind of feel like the way, like, their body language... I feel like that wasn't like a very passionate thing where it's kind of like, oh, I haven't seen you forever, come here. It's more one of those things where...
It seemed like more of a goodbye hug. Like,
yeah, like...
It's a goodbye, or I think it's like just awful, bad, terrible things are happening.
Yeah.
Things are falling apart and she's crying.
Yeah.
Maybe Han Solo's about to go get killed.
Maybe he's getting frozen again.
Which again, I hope he doesn't die, but I'm pretty sure he's going to die at some point in the franchise.
He's been wanting to die since the 80s.
That's how he wanted 7 to, or 6 to end.
Yeah.
Now, he wanted episode 5 to end with him dying.
Yeah.
I was reading something.
Yeah, they didn't know if he was going to.
There was something 10 years ago that Kevin Smith posted, something like Q&A. Mark Hamill was there, and he was wanting Luke to turn evil in episode 6.
Yeah.
That's what I'm pointing to now. Is like he's on the dark side now.
And JJ was.
Which I think would kind of be cool.
There.
At the same time, it kind of negates the whole original.
This would be the part where,
Like,
in this trailer analysis, this would be the part where you show the Star Wars Episode 7, The Gauntlet of Infinity trailer poster.
I will do that.
Tony Stark's going to be in this movie?
The final part's a little underwritten.
I mean, technically, they could do a crossover of Marvel and Star Wars. They're owned by Disney now.
We know Patton Oswalt. We know Patton Oswalt wants it.
Yeah. And I mean, like, who's to say in Infinity War Part 1 or 2 Star Wars doesn't come into the picture?
Sure it will.
Like, X-Wings and Millennium Falcon just fly through a wormhole and start shooting Thanos.
Mickey Mouse, the Muppets. What else does Disney own?
Pixar?
What? Yeah,
Pixar. Yeah.
Wall-E will be there. Yeah, no Jews.
Maybe that's why George Lucas stepped down. Like, while Disney was buying him out.
What? Say that again?
So maybe that's why George Lucas stepped down as Disney was buying him out.
Yeah, he is Jewish, isn't he?
He is.
Forget that.
Any other thoughts racing through your minds, gentlemen?
I'm looking forward to Captain Phasma.
Oh, yeah. I think Captain Phasma is going to be like the Boba Fett of...
And it's a girl.
Yeah, and it's a girl, played by Gwendolyn Christie, the amazing Gwendolyn Christie, who plays Brienne of Tarth in Game of Thrones.
They've said that, like, her femaleness will be shown specifically through, like, body language and, obviously, her voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's gonna... Captain Phasma might not even take the helmet off, I've heard.
I think that's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I want to buy the toy.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it, like, even like in the trailer, the way she carries herself is sort of Boba Fett-esque. Now whether
Captain Phasma fleshlight, because she's female.
Now whether she's Mandalorian or not, I don't know, but I think she's gonna be a really cool character though, in this film, and possibly even some of the, maybe episode 8 and 9.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say they're building her up. They're keeping her secretive enough that she's still out there.
Maybe, or she could be really cool but get killed like Maul.
That is true.
Boat Wars, she'll not be in a ton of scenes.
Yeah.
She'll be really popular.
But have like a
focus
really,
on
or like have a really awesome scene at the end, but end up dying.
Seems to be a whole thing about, like, they're increasing the female roles in Star Wars, which I like it, but at the same time...
boycott episodes.
I like that, but at the same time, I don't like social justice warriors, so I also simultaneously hate that sentence, but...
Too much of a practice.
Yeah.
For the wrong reasons.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it can be done right, I'm not going to say...
Just in there?
Yeah. I mean, if they're just doing it just to please the social justice crowd, I will hate the movie.
I feel like that's what it is. It's not because let's write some strong people out there.
I'm not going to jump to the conclusion that it's like that, like Dave is here, because he just hates everything.
PC world we live in doesn't do it.
Marvel does that with Squirrel Girl and stuff, but that's a rant for a whole other day.
Yeah.
I think Disney's too mindful of Star Wars to not to just pander, I would say.
I don't believe that at all. It's all about the almighty dollar. And if they think that's going to affect their bottom line at all, they'll screw with whatever.
Well, there's a difference between pandering and giving people the story they want. Pandering is giving people the story that they think they want, and giving people the story they want is giving people the story they want. I have a point there, I'm just not expressing it well.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering what you were going at there.
Well, like there's pandering, which would be like throwing a favor.
Star Trek into darkness.
Kinda, I have to agree with you there. The pandering would be like throwing in, a Darth Vader clone that comes out of the cloning vat fully suited just because fans like Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Giving people the story they want is homaging Vader without just throwing him in there just because.
Okay, I got you.
And I think he has to be a part of the story, but I think it's hard not to just kind of make it like that.
Well, they're not going to clone him.
Well, I know, we're just kind of overly referencing her. That's obviously a ripoff of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I'm pretty confident with JJ.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit I've seen.
Like,
well, I guess the point at the end, how long do we think the Skywalker story is going to go?
Well, they said that all of the main episodes are going to be Skywalker stories.
yeah.
How long? Yeah, I don't know.
That's where we're getting these one-off movies that aren't
Yeah.
But is it going to keep going until we get ridiculous numbers on Star Wars Episode 25?
I'll go see episode 20.
But it's still about Skywalker five times.
Well, no, it's got to be in trilogy, so it'll be episode 27 because that's a 3 number.
In there somewhere.
Yeah.
I feel like definitely by like episode 9. I think by like episode 9 it's still gonna be Skywalker, and then maybe after like by episode 9 then they'll kind of deviate into like these other Force sensitive like families or just characters in general.
Well, 9 episodes, ending it like 9 or maybe.
I want a Revan movie.
And then you could just do other Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
Revan movie.
I'd like to see a
Darth
Plagueis
Revan.
movie.
Yeah, Plagueis. Revan.
Yeah.
Darth
Like,
Revan and Darth Revan could actually be a trilogy because they're like related.
There's actually
Tom Hardy.
I think you guys have heard the theory that Snoke might be Plagueis in the this new trilogy.
I've heard it. I don't really buy into it.
I don't buy it.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, but yeah, like yeah, I think it's just one of those things. It's like, yeah, it'd be cool, but is it gonna happen? No, probably not.
I like our Kitster theory better.
Well, that one's true though.
The Force is so wizard.
Yeah.
Your brown skin is looking.
So feel free to hashtag this stuff. Jar Jar Kylo or Kylo Jar Jar.
It's hashtag Jar Jar Ren and hashtag Darth Hickster.
There we go. So feel free to get those things hashtagging.
Yes, hashtag Nick hates Star Wars.
Yeah. Hashtag all this stuff on our Twitter page, PaceyPel Pro, and just and spread this all over the interwebs. But I think before this gets derailed any further, I think we'll go ahead and wrap this up. So
Thanks, fellas.
yeah.
Movie.
And needless to say, I think we're all pretty excited. And until next time, everyone.
For the Revan movie.
Cheers.
Polar bears.